The council room fell silent when the hologram flickered to life. It showed a planet covered in green. Not the gentle green of peaceful worlds. This green was darker. It moved, it breathed. "It killed Varric 7, said Ambassador Corrin, his insect-like body clicking with each word. 300 years ago, we discovered the largest deposit of crystalline ether in the known galaxy on this planet. Without this mineral, our ships cannot travel faster than light. Without it, the Federation dies slowly. And yet, in 300 years, no one has survived long enough to mine even a single gram." The representatives from dozens of species shifted in their seats. Everyone knew about Varric 7. Everyone had lost someone to it. The hologram changed. Now, it showed footage from the Velori expedition. Corrin's own people. 50 soldiers in advanced armor landed on the jungle floor. They were confident. The Velori had colonized 100 worlds. They knew how to survive. On day 1, they set up camp. On day 3, the plants began releasing spores. The spores were acidic. They ate through metal. They ate through armor. They ate through flesh. By day 12, the last Velori soldier sent a final message. The camera showed her face melting as she screamed. Then static. "We learned from this failure," Corrin said. "We sent the Morthok next." The Morthok were reptiles. They stood 7 feet tall. Their scales could stop bullets. Their claws could tear through steel. They had conquered more worlds than any species in the Federation. They were afraid of nothing. 200 Morthok warriors landed on Varric 7 with flame weapons and heavy armor. They burned everything in their path. For 2 weeks, they pushed deeper into the jungle, killing every creature they found. On night 18, the jungle fought back. The footage showed the Morthok camp at midnight. Everything was quiet. Then the ground moved. Vines as thick as arms burst from the soil. They wrapped around sleeping soldiers. They pulled them underground. The warriors who woke up tried to fight. They cut the vines with their claws. But for every vine they cut, 10 more appeared. The screaming lasted for 6 minutes. Then silence. The hologram died. The council room remained dark. "The jungle learns," Corrin said softly. "The spores that killed my people had never existed before we landed. The vines that killed the Morthok were not aggressive until they arrived. Varric 7 does not simply kill. It adapts. It studies. It hunts. We have sent 37 expeditions to this planet. Soldiers, scientists, robots, all of them failed. The jungle crushed them all." A murmur ran through the council. Everyone agreed. Varric 7 was death. No one could survive it. They would need to find crystalline ether somewhere else, even if it took another 1,000 years. Then a voice spoke from the back of the room. "We would like to try." Every head turned. The speaker was a human. A small, soft creature from a small, unimportant planet called Earth. Humans had only joined the Federation 5 years ago. They had no natural weapons. No armor, no claws, or fangs, or venom. They were so fragile that a simple fall could break their bones. Most species wondered how humans had even survived long enough to reach space. "Ambassador." Corrin made a sound that might have been laughter. "You humans." The Morthok were the greatest warriors in the galaxy, and the jungle killed them in 18 days. What can humans possibly do? The human stepped forward. He was average height for his kind. Dark hair, calm eyes. His name was Taiho, and he was the leader of Earth's Colonial Exploration Division. "We would like to try," he repeated. "We are not asking for soldiers or weapons. Just permission to land. 12 people. Basic supplies. That is all." The council erupted in noise. Some were laughing. Others were confused. A few seemed almost offended that humans would waste their time with such a foolish request, but Corrin raised a limb for silence. His compound eyes studied the human with something like curiosity. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you throw away 12 lives on a planet that has killed thousands?" Taiho did not smile. He did not boast. He simply said, "Because we have been surviving impossible places since before we could walk upright. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We are still here. We would like to see if Varric 7 is any different, the council voted. It was not a serious vote. Everyone knew the humans would die, but there was no reason to stop them. Perhaps their deaths would provide useful data. Perhaps the Federation could learn something from watching another species fail. Permission was granted. 3 weeks later, a small human transport ship entered orbit around Varric 7. The ship was old and simple. Nothing special. Inside, 12 humans prepared for landing. Taiho stood at the front of the cargo bay and looked at his team. They were not soldiers. They were not warriors. They were survivors. Bora, the engineer, was checking her tools for the 5th time. She could build anything from nothing. She had grown up in a poor village where everything had to be fixed because nothing could be replaced. Yuna, the medic, was reading a tablet filled with information about alien biology. She had spent 10 years treating patients in disaster zones. She knew how to keep people alive when everything was falling apart. Jiho the scout was stretching his legs. He was small and fast and clever. He had grown up in mountains where one wrong step meant death. He knew how to move through dangerous places. Nar, the botanist, was looking out the window at the green planet below. Plants had always fascinated her. Even the ones that tried to kill you. Especially the ones that tried to kill you. Doan, the geologist, was reviewing maps of the planet's surface. He was quiet and patient. He understood that rocks and minerals had their own language. You just had to learn how to listen. The others were similar. Ordinary people with extraordinary patience. No heroes, no legends. Just humans who had learned, through millions of years of evolution, that the universe was trying to kill them, and that the only response was to keep going anyway. Listen carefully, Taiho said. The Valori tried to hide from the jungle. The jungle found them. The Morthok tried to fight the jungle. The jungle killed them. We are not going to hide. We are not going to fight. We are going to live. Someone asked what that meant. Taiho looked out the window at Varric 7. The green clouds swirled below like a living thing. It means we are not here to conquer this planet. We are not here to beat it, or destroy it, or prove we are stronger. We are here to make a home. That is what humans do. We find the worst places in the universe, and we figure out how to make them livable. We adapt. We adjust. We survive. The ship began its descent. The hull shook as it entered the atmosphere. Warning lights flashed. The air outside turned toxic green dot in orbit above. Federation observers watched the tiny ship disappear into the clouds. Ambassador Corrin gave the humans 1 week. Most of the council gave them less. None of them understood what they were watching. None of them knew that humans had already survived ice ages, plagues, famines, and wars. None of them knew that the human species had crawled out of extinction more times than any species in the galaxy. The ship landed in the heart of the jungle. The ramp lowered. 12 humans stepped out into the deadliest place in the known universe. And Taiho looked around at the carnivorous plants and toxic air and glowing predators in the shadows. And he said, "Let us find a good spot for camp." The first thing Taiho noticed was the smell. It was thick and wet and alive. It filled his nose and throat and lungs. It tasted like rotting leaves and something sweeter underneath. Something dangerous. The second thing he noticed was the movement. Everything moved. The trees swayed even though there was no wind. The vines curled and uncurled like sleeping snakes. The flowers turned to track the humans as they stepped off the ship. Even the ground seemed to pulse like the heartbeat of some massive creature sleeping beneath the soil. "Stay close," Taiho said quietly. "Move slowly. Watch everything." The team formed a tight group and began walking. According to the maps, there was a small clearing about 200 meters ahead. It would be a good place to set up their first camp. But 200 meters in this jungle might as well be 200 kilometers. They had walked only 20 steps when Nari held up her hand. Everyone stopped. "Look," she whispered. Ahead of them, the path was covered in tall grass. It looked almost normal, almost safe. But Nari had noticed something. The grass was too still. Everything else in the jungle moved, but this grass stood perfectly straight, like soldiers waiting for orders. Razorgrass, Bora said, checking her tablet. The same plant that killed the first Morthok scouts? It fires seeds like bullets when it detects movement. The faster you move, the more seeds it fires. Jiho picked up a small rock and threw it into the grass. Instantly, 100 tiny blades shot through the air. They were so fast that no one could see them. They just heard the sound, like a swarm of angry insects. The rock was shredded into dust before it hit the ground. The Morthok ran through it, Dewan said. Their armor protected them at first, but the grass kept firing. It never stopped. Eventually, it found the gaps. Taiho studied the grass. He watched how it reacted to the falling dust. He noticed that when movement stopped, the grass became still again. It was not attacking constantly. It was waiting, responding. Slow and steady, he said. No sudden movements. Take one step every 5 seconds. Do not run no matter what happens. The team looked at each other. Every instinct told them to run through as fast as possible. But they trusted Taiho. They trusted the plan. One by one, they stepped into the razorgrass. One slow step. Then another. Then another. The grass trembled around them. It sensed their presence. But it did not fire. The movement was too slow. Too gentle. The grass could not decide if they were threats or just the wind. It took 15 minutes to cross 20 meters of grass. When they reached the other side, everyone was breathing hard. Sweat dripped down their faces. But no one was hurt. Bora laughed quietly. The Morthok charged through like warriors. We walked through like old people going to the market. Una smiled. Sometimes being slow is the only way to survive. They reached the clearing as the sun began to set. The sky turned from green to purple to black. And as darkness fell, the jungle changed. Lights appeared everywhere. Glowing spots on the trees. Shining lines on the ground. Blinking patterns in the shadows. The jungle was full of bioluminescent life. It was beautiful. It was also terrifying, because the lights were moving. They were getting closer. They were surrounding the clearing. Jiho moved to the edge of the camp and listened. He could hear breathing. Many breaths. Many bodies. Something was out there in the dark. Something was hunting. Packed predators, he said. Same ones that killed the Valor. They hunt by surrounding prey and attacking from all sides at once. They never leave survivors. The team could see the shapes now. Long bodies low to the ground. 6 legs each. Teeth that glowed faintly blue. There were at least 30 of them. Maybe more. Dewan reached for a weapon, but Taiho stopped him. Do not fight, he said. We cannot win a fight. There are too many. We need a different way, Una was thinking. Her mind was racing through everything she knew about survival, and then she remembered something from her training. Something simple. Something ancient. Fire, she said. Humans are one of the only species in the galaxy that evolved with fire. We are not afraid of it, but most animals are. Most ecosystems have never encountered it. Bora understood immediately. She pulled out her equipment and started gathering dead wood. The others helped. In 5 minutes, they had a pile of dry branches in the center of the clearing. The predators were closer now. Their breathing was louder. Their glowing teeth reflected in the darkness like a ring of blue stars. Bora struck a spark. The wood caught. Flames rose into the air and the predators stopped. They made sounds that might have been confusion. Might have been fear. The fire was something new. Something their evolution had never prepared them for. The heat was strange. The light was strange. The smell of smoke was strange. Slowly, the pack backed away. Not running. Just retreating. Giving this new thing space. Respecting it, the humans sat around the fire and breathed. They are not gone, Gio said. They are still out there. Watching. Let them watch, Taiho said. Tonight, we do not need them to leave. We just need them to wait. The night passed slowly. The predators circled the clearing, but never came close. The fire burned until morning. And when the sun rose, the pack was gone. They had decided these strange creatures were not worth the risk. In orbit above, the Federation observers were confused. They had expected the humans to fight. They had expected weapons and battles and death. Instead, they watched 12 people sit around a fire and cook food and talk quietly, Ambassador. Corin received the report and did not understand. "What are they doing?" he asked. The observer checked the footage again. "They appear to be resting. They cooked some kind of plant and ate it. Now they are sleeping in shifts. One stands guard while the others close their eyes." "Sleeping?" Corin repeated. "In the middle of the deadliest jungle in the galaxy?" "Yes, Ambassador. They seem calm. They are treating the jungle like it is normal, like they have done this before." Corin was quiet for a long moment. The Morthok had lasted 18 days by fighting every moment. The humans had survived their first night by doing almost nothing. They had simply sat down and made fire. It made no sense. And yet they were still alive. On the planet below, Taiho woke with the sunrise. He stretched his back and looked around the camp. Everyone was healthy. No injuries. No sickness. The fire had burned down to coals, but there was enough wood to start it again. Nari was already awake, studying the plants at the edge of the clearing. She had found something interesting. A fungus that grew in the shadows. It smelled bad, but her scanner said it was not toxic. "We can eat this," she said. "If we cook it properly." Bora was examining the trees. "This wood is strong," she said, "and the sap seems to have useful properties. We can build with this. Real structures, not just tents." Yuna was testing the water from a small stream nearby. "Acidic," she said, "but I think I can filter it. There are minerals in the soil that might neutralize the acid. I need to experiment." Taiho listened to all of them. He looked around at the jungle that had killed so many, and for the first time he smiled. "Good," he said. "Let us get to work. We have a home to build." The second day on Varric 7 began. The jungle watched these strange creatures who did not run or fight or hide. It watched them dig and build and experiment. It did not understand what they were doing, neither did the Federation, but the humans understood. They had done this before. On frozen mountains, in burning deserts, across endless oceans. They had taken every hostile environment on their own planet and turned it into a place where children could play and families could live. This jungle was just the next one on the list. 2 weeks had passed since the humans landed on Varric 7. Against all expectations, they were still alive. More than alive, they were learning. Taiho stood at the edge of their camp and looked at what they had built. It was not much. A few shelters made from local wood, a fire pit that never went out, a small garden where Nari was growing edible fungi, a water filtration system that Bora had built from rocks and plant fibers. It was simple. It was rough. But it was home. The jungle had not stopped trying to kill them. Every day brought new dangers, new predators, new poisons, new tricks. But the humans were adapting faster than the jungle expected. Nari had spent the first week studying the carnivorous plants. They were everywhere. Flowers that snapped shut on anything that touched them. Vines that grabbed and pulled. Trees that dropped sticky sap to trap prey. The previous expeditions had tried to burn them or cut them down. That only made them grow back stronger and angrier. Nari took a different approach. She watched. She recorded. She analyzed. On day 8, she made a discovery. The carnivorous plants did not attack everything equally. Some creatures walked right past them without being touched. Small insects. Certain birds. Even some of the larger predators. The plants ignored them completely. Pheromones, Nari explained to the team. Chemical signals. The plants can smell them. Certain creatures release pheromones that tell the plants not to attack. The plants think they are not food. Bora saw where this was going. "Can we copy those pheromones?" Nari smiled. "I already have." She had collected samples from the predators that the pack hunters had killed. She had analyzed their scent glands. She had found the exact chemical pattern that made the carnivorous plants passive, and she had synthesized it using basic chemistry equipment. Now, the team could spray themselves with a pheromone mixture before leaving camp. The carnivorous plants would sense them coming and remain still. The humans could walk right past them without fear. It was not a victory. It was not a conquest. It was just understanding, learning the rules. Playing by them, Jiho had made his own discoveries. He had spent days tracking the pack predators that surrounded their camp every night. He followed their trails. He listened to their calls. He watched how they moved. They are not random, he reported one evening. They have territories, boundaries. They do not cross into each other's areas. If we can map these boundaries, we can find safe paths. Corridors where no predator goes because it belongs to no one. Taiho looked at the rough map Jiho had drawn. Lines crisscrossed the jungle, marking where different packs lived, and between those lines were empty spaces. Neutral zones. We walk these paths, Taiho said. We never enter any pack's territory unless we have to. We stay in the spaces between. It worked. The team could now move through the jungle during daylight hours without being hunted. The predators sensed them passing through but did not attack. These strange creatures were not in their territory. They were not competition. They were just passing through. The jungle was beginning to accept them, not as friends, not as masters. Just as another part of the ecosystem. Another species that had found its place. But finding their place was not enough. The Federation had sent them here for a reason. They needed crystalline ether. Dewan had been mapping the mineral deposits since they arrived. He used sonic equipment to scan deep underground. He analyzed rock samples. He studied the geography, and every measurement pointed to the same place. The Heartwood, he said one morning, pointing to the center of his map. That is where the largest deposits are. More crystalline ether in one place than anywhere else in the galaxy. Everyone grew quiet. They had all heard of the Heartwood. It was the deepest part of the jungle, the place where even the pack predators did not go. Because something lived there. Something bigger. Something worse. The Virokian Titan. Old footage from destroyed probes showed glimpses of it. A serpentine creature longer than a starship. Scales like black metal. Eyes that glowed red in the darkness. It had destroyed every expedition that entered its domain. Crushed them. Eaten them. Left nothing behind. You do not have to go there, Eunice said carefully. There are smaller deposits on the outer edges. We could mine those. It would take longer, but it would be safer. Taiho looked at the map for a long time. He thought about the mission. He thought about the Federation waiting in orbit. He thought about all the species that depended on crystalline ether. Then he shook his head. The outer deposits are enough, he said. We are not here to take everything. We are here to survive. To prove that this planet can be lived on. If we try to conquer the Heartwood, we become like all the others. We become invaders. And invaders do not last. Some team members looked relieved. Others looked uncertain. They had come so far. They had survived so much. The idea of stopping now felt wrong, but Taiho explained his thinking. The jungle's not evil. It is not cruel. It is just alive. It protects itself. It fights back against anything that threatens it. Every expedition before us came here to take, to extract, to conquer, and the jungle destroyed them because that is what living things do when they are attacked. He pointed at their camp. At the shelters, the garden, the fire pit. We are not attacking. We are not taking more than we need. We are just living here. And because of that, the jungle is beginning to ignore us. The predators avoid our camp. The plants leave us alone. Even the weather seems less harsh. We are becoming part of this place. If we invade the Heartwood, we break that balance. We become a threat again. And the jungle will crush us just like it crushed everyone else. The team understood. They did not like it. But they understood. That night, Yuna sat next to Jiho by the fire. She was treating a small cut on his arm. A thorn had scratched him during the day's exploration. Nothing serious, Just another reminder that the jungle was always watching, always testing. Oh, this reminds me of home, Jiho said quietly. The mountains where I grew up. Every step could kill you. Every weather change could trap you. But we learned to live there anyway. We learned which paths were safe, which seasons were dangerous, which animals to avoid. Una nodded. Humans have always lived in places that tried to kill them. Deserts, tundra, deep ocean. We complain about it, suffer, but we never leave. We just figure it out. Why do you think that is? Una thought about the question. She looked up at the unfamiliar stars through the gap in the jungle canopy. Because home is not a place that is safe, she said finally. Home is a place where you have learned how to survive. The Valori and the Morthok came here looking for safety. They wanted to make this jungle harmless. That was never going to work. You cannot make a jungle harmless. You can only learn to live with its danger. Jiho smiled. So this is home now? Una looked around at the camp, at their shelters and gardens and water filters, at their friends sleeping peacefully while the jungle hummed and growled and glowed around them. Yes, she said. I think it is. 2 weeks became 3. 3 became 4. The outer deposits of crystalline ether were found and carefully extracted. Not all at once. Not greedily. Just a little at a time. Enough to send back to the Federation. Enough to prove that it could be done. The jungle continued to test them. New dangers appeared. New challenges. But the humans met each one with patience and creativity. They did not fight. They did not conquer. They simply adapted. And somewhere deep in the Heartwood, the Virokian Titan sensed these new creatures. It felt them moving through its jungle, digging, building, burning small fires, but they did not come closer. They did not threaten its nest. They stayed in their small clearing and lived their small lives. The Titan watched and waited. And eventually, it stopped watching. These creatures were not enemies. They were not prey. They were just neighbors. Strange neighbors. But neighbors all the same. The rain came on day 32. Not gentle rain. Not the soft showers that fell on peaceful worlds. This was a storm that could crush bones and drown lungs. The sky turned black. The wind screamed through the trees. Water fell in sheets so thick that Taiho could not see his own hand in front of his face, but the camp held. Bora had designed the shelters for exactly this moment. She had studied the local trees and found that their wood became stronger when soaked in jungle sap. The sap hardened like cement when it dried. She had coated every beam, every wall, every roof with the mixture. Now, as the storm raged around them, the shelters stood firm. Inside, the team waited. Lanterns made from bioluminescent moss gave soft light. A small stove heated food that Nari had grown in her garden. The wind howled outside, but inside there was warmth. There was peace. The Morthok expedition hit a storm like this on day 12, Doan said, reading from his tablet. They tried to fight through it. Keep moving. Stay aggressive. Half of them drowned. The other half were picked off by predators while they were weakened. Una shook her head. Fighting a storm? What did they expect? They expected the storm to give up before they did, Taiho said. That is how warriors think. They believe strength can overcome anything. They forget that the universe does not care how strong you are. Outside, the jungle thrashed and screamed. Trees fell. Rivers flooded. Creatures died by the thousands. It was destruction on a massive scale. And the humans sat inside their shelters and played card games and waited for it to pass. 2 days later, the storm ended. The team emerged to find their camp damaged but not destroyed. Some repairs were needed. Some supplies had been lost. But everyone was alive. Everyone was healthy. They got to work rebuilding. And as they worked, they improved. Bora designed better drainage systems. Channels cut into the earth that would carry water away from the shelters during future storms. Jiho found higher ground nearby that would be safer for expansion. Nari planted new gardens with faster-growing crops. Doan reinforced the storage areas where they kept their crystalline ether. By day 40, The camp looked like a small village, not a military outpost, not a mining operation, a place where people lived. The Federation observers in orbit did not understand. They sent message after message asking for explanations. How were the humans surviving? What weapons were they using? What tactics? What technology? Taiho's answers confused them. We use fire to cook food and keep warm. We use local materials to build shelters. We avoid predators instead of fighting them. We grow food instead of hunting. We wait out storms instead of marching through them. Ambassador Corrin read the reports and felt something he had never felt before. He felt humbled. The Valerie were proud of their technology. They believed machines could solve any problem. But machines broke down on Varric 7. The acid ate them. The moisture ruined them. The jungle's electromagnetic fields scrambled their signals. The Morthok were proud of their strength. They believed courage could overcome any obstacle. But courage did not stop spores from eating your lungs. Courage did not prevent vines from strangling you in your sleep. Courage was useless against a planet that did not care if you were brave. The humans had neither superior technology nor superior strength. They had something else, something harder to define. On day 45, the Varrokian Titan came. It emerged from the heartwood at sunset. A creature so large that its body blocked out the dying light, scales like polished obsidian, eyes that burned with ancient intelligence. It moved through the jungle like a ship sailing through water, slow and unstoppable. The team froze. They had heard stories. They had seen footage, but nothing prepared them for the reality. The Titan was not just big, it was primordial. It was a god of this world. Jiho reached for a weapon. Bora started calculating escape routes. Even Taiho felt his heart pounding in his chest. But then Dewan said something strange. Look at how it is moving. They looked. The Titan was not approaching the camp directly. It was circling, slowly. Carefully, its massive head turned toward them, but it did not attack. It did not even growl. "It is curious," Nari whispered. "It does not know what we are." The Titan circled the camp 3 times. Each pass brought it a little closer. Close enough that they could see the scars on its scales. Old wounds from ancient battles, close enough that they could feel the heat of its breath, and then it stopped. It raised its head and looked directly at Taiho. The team leader stood his ground. He did not run. He did not attack. He just stood there and met the creature's gaze. Something passed between them. Not words. Not thoughts. Just understanding. Recognition. One survivor acknowledging another, the Titan turned away. It moved back toward the heartwood, and it did not return. That night, the team sat around the fire in silence. They were all processing what had happened, what it meant. Finally, Eunice spoke. "It came to check on us." "What?" Bora asked. "We have been here for 45 days. We have been digging, building, making noise. The Titan wanted to see what we were. Whether we were a threat?" Una paused. "It decided we are not." Dewan nodded slowly. "We never entered the heartwood. We never threatened its nest. We never tried to kill the creatures it protects. We are not invaders. We are just living here." Taiho poked the fire with a stick. Sparks flew up into the darkness. "The Morthok would have attacked it," he said. "They would have seen a monster and tried to prove they were stronger. They would have died. And the Titan would have destroyed everything they built." He looked around at his team. "We did nothing. And because we did nothing, we survived." The days continued to pass. 50 days, 60, 70, the camp grew. New shelters appeared, new gardens, new systems for collecting water and generating power. The Federation sent supply drops, but the humans needed less and less from outside. They were becoming self-sufficient. More importantly, they were becoming invisible. The jungle no longer treated them as invaders. The predators avoided the camp not from fear, but from habit. The plants grew around the shelters instead of attacking them. Even the weather seemed gentler near the human settlement, as if the ecosystem had accepted this small pocket of foreign life. On day 80, Nari made a remarkable discovery. A small creature had wandered into camp during the night. It was furry and bigoted, about the size of a cat. It had curled up near the fire and fallen asleep. The team watched it breathe. They did not chase it away. They did not try to catch it or study it. They just let it sleep. In the morning, it woke up and looked at them. Then it wandered back into the jungle. But the next night, it returned. And the night after that, it had decided these strange creatures were safe. We have a pet, Jiho said, laughing. We have a neighbor, Nari corrected. One that chooses to visit us. That has never happened on this planet before. No expedition has ever been visited by wildlife that was not trying to kill them. Taiho watched the little creature scurry into the shadows. He thought about everything they had accomplished. Not through force, not through technology, just through patience and respect and the simple human desire to make any place feel like home. Send a message to the Federation, he said. Tell them Varric 7 is ready for colonization, not conquest. Not mining operations, colonization, families, children, normal life. Bora looked at him like he was crazy. You want to bring families here? To a death world? Taiho smiled. It is not a death world anymore. It is just a world. A difficult one. A dangerous one. But humans have lived in worse places. He looked around at their little village in the heart of an alien jungle. They will learn. They will adapt. They will make it home, as the message was sent. And far away, in the cold halls of the Federation Council, the impossible became possible. Varric 7 was no longer a graveyard. It was a campsite, and it was growing. 3 months after 12 humans landed on the deadliest planet in the galaxy, the Federation Council gathered once again. This time, the mood was different. This time, there was no laughter, no dismissal, only silence and confusion and something that might have been fear. Ambassador Korin stood at the center of the chamber. Behind him, a hologram showed live footage from Varric 7, not archived images of death and destruction. Live footage of humans going about their daily lives. A woman hung laundry on a line strung between 2 shelters. Children played near a stream, watched by adults who sat in the shade and talked quietly. A man tended a garden while another repaired a roof. Smoke rose from cooking fires. Laughter echoed through the trees. It looked like a village. An ordinary, boring, peaceful village. 3 months, Korin said. His voice was steady, but his compound eyes betrayed his disbelief. 300 years of failure. Thousands of deaths. The greatest warriors and scientists in the galaxy crushed by this planet. And now 12 humans have survived for 3 months. They have built permanent structures. They have established sustainable food sources. They have made friends with the local wildlife. The hologram showed the small furry creature that visited the camp every night. It was sitting on Nari's shoulder while she worked in the garden. Several council members made sounds of shock. This is impossible, a Morthok general growled. Our warriors lasted 18 days. 18. How can these soft, weak creatures survive for 90? The hologram shifted. Now it showed Taiho standing in front of his team. He had been asked to address the council and explain how humans had done the impossible. He looked tired, thin. His clothes were patched and worn. He did not look like a conqueror or a hero. He looked like a man who had been camping for 3 months and desperately wanted a shower. You want to know how we survived, he said. The answer is simple. We did not try to win, the council murmured. Korin gestured for silence. Every expedition you sent to this planet came to conquer it, Taiho continued. The Vellery wanted to harvest its resources. The Morthok wanted to prove their strength. Everyone wanted something from Varric 7, and Varric 7 killed them for it. Because that is what living things do when something tries to take from them. They fight back. He paused. Looked around at the faces watching him from across the stars. Humans are not stronger than the Morthok. We are not smarter than the Vellery. We do not have better technology or better weapons or better anything. What we have is different. We have experience. Millions of years of experience surviving in places that were trying to kill us. The hologram showed images from Earth, humans climbing frozen mountains, humans crossing burning deserts, humans sailing across endless oceans on tiny boats, humans building cities in swamps and jungles and volcanic islands. Our planet was not easy, Taiho said. Ice ages, plagues, famines, predators, volcanoes, earthquakes. Our planet tried to kill us every single day, and we did not beat it. We did not conquer it. We just survived. We found places where we could exist. We learned the rules and followed them. We adapted to whatever the world threw at us. And eventually, we stopped being visitors on Earth. We became part of it. He gestured at the camp behind him. He did the same thing here. We did not try to change Varric 7. We changed ourselves. We learned which plants were dangerous and avoided them. We learned which predators were territorial and stayed out of their way. We learned what the jungle needed from us to leave us alone, and we gave it that. A Velari scientist spoke up. But you are mining crystalline ether. You are taking from the planet. How is that different from what we tried to do? Taiho nodded. We are taking, but not everything. Not greedily. We take only from the outer deposits. We leave the heartwood alone. We do not threaten the Titan or its nest. We take what we need to survive and nothing more. He smiled slightly. There is an old human saying, do not take more than you can carry. Do not break more than you can fix. Do not fight battles you do not need to win.
Ow.
The council was silent. These were strange ideas. Most species in the Federation operated on different principles: expand, conquer, extract, dominate. The idea of deliberately limiting yourself was foreign to them. The Morthok general spoke again. You call this survival. I call it weakness. You hide from predators instead of killing them. You avoid conflict instead of facing it. What happens when the jungle decides to destroy you? Will you run? Will you beg? Taiho's expression did not change. Perhaps. Perhaps we will die tomorrow. Perhaps Varric 7 will finally figure out how to kill us. But probably not. Because we are not a threat. We are not an enemy. We are just neighbors. And neighbors can live together for a very long time if they respect each other's boundaries. He looked directly at the general. Your warriors came here and fought for 18 days. They killed many creatures. They burned many plants. They proved their strength over and over again. And they all died. Every single one. Because strength does not matter to a jungle. The jungle does not care how brave you are or how many enemies you have defeated. It only cares whether you are a threat. You were a threat. So it destroyed you. The general had no response. Ambassador Corrin stepped forward. What would you recommend we do with Varric 7? If conquest is impossible, what is the alternative? Colonization, Taiho said. Not military occupation. Not industrial extraction. Real colonization. Bring families. Bring children. Bring people who want to live here, not people who want to take and leave. Build communities that will grow with the jungle instead of against it. Families. Another representative asked. You want to bring children to a death world? Taiho smiled. Every world is a death world to someone. The Valkyrie would die in minutes on a dry planet. The Morthok cannot survive in cold climates. Humans have children in deserts, in tundras and tropical jungles all over Earth. We have been raising families in dangerous places since before we discovered fire. He shrugged. Varric 7 is dangerous, but so is everywhere else in the universe. At least here, we know what the dangers are. We can teach our children how to avoid them. We can build a life, the council voted. It was not unanimous. Many species still believed the humans were simply lucky, that their survival was temporary, that any day now the jungle would wake up and destroy them like it had destroyed everyone else. But enough voted yes. Varric 7 was officially classified as a human colony. Expansion was authorized. Families could apply to immigrate. 6 months later, the first transport ships arrived. Not soldiers, not scientists. Just ordinary people looking for a new start. Farmers who wanted to try growing crops in alien soil. Engineers who wanted to build with alien wood. Teachers who wanted to educate children under alien stars.